Breaker Broke 23. Another episode of CB Radio Unboxing. I believe we're on number 5. So tonight, I'm going to kind of unbox a radio that's been with me since 1975, if I remember correctly. My uncle and I went to a CB Radio closeout sale at the Salt Palace in Salt Lake City back then. And it was a closeout sale because they were they were liquidating CB radios from the 23 channel era. They just made the 40 channels legal, and so retailers, distributors, whoever, companies, they were just begging to get rid of those old, outdated 23 channel CBs. So my uncle and I bought a few things. We bought a fleet of high gain mobiles, which turned out to be absolute junk, as you know, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, even the sideband one. And then we bought some high gain base station antennas, which I'm currently running that same antenna that I got. My uncle bought a super golden penetrator, if I remember right. And then we had the CLR, the high gain CLR, which for years I've been mistakenly calling it a penetrator. Anyway, and so he bought 2 sideband base stations, and this is one of the 2. This is the high gain 8. So I was about 13 or so back then, and to me, you know, I've had AM bases and stuff before back then. I had an old realistic TRC 30A and some stuff, but this was like my first sideband bass I ever had. Not only that, this is not only the first sideband bass that I ever had, this is actually the first radio that I actually modified to go to higher channels, or as we would call back then, the pirate channels or the freeband channels. And this radio I modified. I remember I wrote Jan Crystals a letter with, I think, $3.95 in the envelope. And I don't know if that was the right price or not. And they sent me the right crystal to go to 27505, which was a real big thing back then, to go to 27505. And what you do is you take a crystal out of the radio, and these crystal controlled 23 channel radios had a crystal for every 4 channels, mixer crystal. So what I did is I talked on channel 23 and 14 and stuff, so I didn't care about channels 1, 2, 3, 4. So I jumped in here and I took the crystals. Oh, that's good. I took the crystal that operated channels 1, 2, 3, and 4 out, and I added my modified crystal, the Jan crystal. I believe it was a Jan crystal. And by going to channel 1, I believe, it took me to channel 485 and then progressed 495 and then up to 27505. Anyway, there she is. Wow, it's actually in better shape than I remember it. So, mind you, I'm like 12 years old breaking into these things, you know. I took it apart, did the modification and everything, and do I have any missing screws? Yeah, there's one. Okay, one missing screw. All right, well, that's, you know, I was a kid then, right? And this radio was not really a great performer, but, you know, I'm rocking single sideband here, man. And I can go out of band and everything. And I guess I don't have the correct power plug for it. Well, this sucks. Oh, I was really hoping that was the one. Well, anyway. I have the high gain stock mic somewhere in a box here. And just a little hand mic. I also, in my later years, found the high gain bass mic, which looked just like the Radio Shack bass mic. But what we have here is, you know, look at that functional styling. Unique styling, they called it. And these little bat switches apparently broke fairly easily, and I broke the noise blanker, the ANL, and the SWR. And I remember when I was a kid, I may have done that farting around with it, honestly, but I just know they were easy to break. Anyway, so when I was a kid, what I did is I took my little pick and I just pushed it for noise blanker and ANL and just left them on. But so we have volume, squelch, RF gain, tone control, and yeah, I believe this sounded actually really good at 12 o'clock. Most of them sound really good, you know, only sound good cranked all the way to the right. Modulation calibrate, RF, SWR. AM upper lower sideband and fine tune. God, this is cool to see. It's in way better condition than I remember. I haven't had this thing out in a long time. I'm gonna have to use it. And it has dual meters in here. Actually, it has a SRF meter and the SWR meter. I'll light this up and do a video on this thing because I'm actually going to look for parts for this. I think this is so cool. I have DC 12 volt in. That looks very Uniden-ish, doesn't it? 110, and then here's how you adjust the clock. I totally forgot about the clock too. So a red digital channel selector up to 23, and then kind of like a faint red clock. So we'll get that on a shelf somewhere. Actually, I'm going to actually put that back in the box because this is just something that stays boxed up. Wow, that's kind of cool. Dude, I'm such a nerd. All right, so let's do this. I got to get into some mobiles here. I think I said that a video or so ago. And as I was saying, I don't generally collect AM mobiles, but I think I do have one in this box, in this here box. It's a very special one, as a matter of fact. All right, let's just unpack. Yeah, see, look, there's the face of the radio. I'm using shop rags to protect it. Oh, Mike. What are you doing? Well, it worked. You know, it's not like I was shipping these cross country. Oh, this is just a. Eh. All right, it's just a Jackson. Okay, so I've always been in love with President radios. I just love them. I think they're really cool. And I got this from 425 Mongoose up in the northwest corner. Shout out to 425. And as you can see, it's a little scratched up. This was in his dad's motorhome. And I actually traded this for a Galaxy DX55, which was an AM monster. Anyway, this is the Uniden President Grant. Kind of printed, kind of funky here. They had different versions of this. You know, they had the President Grant, the Uniden, and then of course you had your what do you call it? The export radios. This is a street legal Grant, so it's no fun, right? I'm just kidding. So mic gain, RF gain, clarifier, one knob, and so it's not a fine and coarse. Volume squelch, AM upper lower sideband only, modulation, and yes, this meter is not stuck. Very good. White LED back behind there. Kind of a cool radio, right? We've all seen Grants. So that's a cool one. That's a keeper. And it works. Ooh, there's something with a heat sink on it, so I don't know. I had kind of a few of these that were kind of rare, actually. Alright. I got this at a yard sale in Port Angeles, Washington. Just a couple miles from my house, actually. From a retired truck driver. He had a yard sale. And his daughter was selling his stuff, right? And so there was this radio and another one. I don't remember what it is right offhand. It'll come to me when I see it, if I still have it. And it came with a, oh my gosh, a Turner Road King 76 microphone, the trucker's mic, you know? And it's the ugly black mic with the little round thing on there that you could hold right up to your face. And it had like coffee or chew spittle on it. Oh, dude, it was disgusting. Anyway, so this one here is a export, so it's not street legal. All right? So, yeah, it's got a little bit of stuff rubbed off there, but I got your volume, squelch, AM, FM, upper lower sideband, and then here's the fine coarse clarifier. Right, and then mic gain, RF gain, and I really hate that when they tie those two together, but anyway. And your bands, A, B, C, and D. So to go 80 above channel 40, and it'll go 80 below channel 1. Most important switch of all, the Roger beep switch, plus 10K, noise blanker, A&L, and then modulation SRF. This also, I rebuilt the meter, and because it was stuck. I've done a lot of those, and I should do a video on that one day. And then it has a white LED with... in the background here. This is a dual final radio. So it's like 20 watts. That's kind of cool. And let's see, what do we have here? This is like Christmas for me. Oh my god. Only you true hardcore guys would follow this. Oh, sweet. All right, my street legal Galaxy DX979, totally not collectible. Very good radio, blue backlighting. It's a really decent radio. This thing is totally street legal. I have done no mods to it. I turned up the modulation. That's all I did. I did not unlock the clarifier. I used this in my Suburban, when my wife was driving that, so she could get in touch with me and not get lost. And yes. Oh, dude, I have the box. So, and I was selling these for $149 at my RV park. I sold CBs to some of the truck drivers and some of the locals. But yeah, that was really cool. That was actually a fun time selling CBs to those guys. Shout out to 321 Catbox. Oh, dude. All right. So, I was saying before that, but I did a video on this. I don't really do AM radios, okay? But this is a very special radio to me. This means a lot. This was given to me by a retired trucker, Pat Brady. The Irishman was his handle, and he was a very Irish gentleman and just awesome dude overall. And he died of cancer, unfortunately. But he stayed in my RV park and says, yeah, man, I'm a retired trucker. And I says, oh, cool. Do you do CB? He's like, yeah. All right. So, long story short, he brought in a couple of radios. There was a Connex 3300 that he ran, and he ran this one. What was cool about this one is he told me the backstory on this. He bought this at Bill Good's shop in California. And he was a regular customer of Bill Good. And I'm not going to really go into the history of Bill Good and all that. But anyway, that being said, this was a Bill Good peaked and tweaked tuned radio. And I saw receipts on this. This was really cool. But what was sad about this radio is it was like on the floor in a box somewhere in a sleeper or something underneath his sleeper. And this thing was hammered, man. The cover was all beat up. Yeah, I mean, it was gross. The face was all beat up, and it had like a green tint on the knobs, you know, like a moldy tint on the knobs. And meter was stuck. And he says, yeah, you know, you can have this. I'll give these to you. And then he put them back in his RV, and I never saw him again. Then when he died, his roommate said, Mike, I know that Pat wanted you to have these radios. So he gave me the box that they were in, and this is all crusty and everything. Just gross. I mean, I was actually going to throw this radio away, but I did not, because I'm like, well, wait a minute. That's an old school 29 LTD, like from back in the day. And I don't see a date on here. But this was made in Taiwan. And anyway, I put this on the bench all dirty and crusty. It fired up. It worked great. I got a couple of radio checks, and they're like, that radio sounds awesome. And I'm like receiving some other stations. I kind of played with it for a couple nights. I'm like, dang, this radio has ruthless receive. Man, this is nice. If I could make some of these other radios receive like this, I would actually use this as my main base radio, other than just it does not have sideband. It's such a great radio. Bill Good tuned. I saw the receipts for this, repairs and stuff, and in that box were some old crusty microphones and old rotted patch cords and stuff. So I did throw most of that stuff away, or I think I donated it, I don't remember. And then, but I kept this, and I cleaned it up, unstuck the meter. It was sticking. The light was burned out, and this thing looked terrible. It was all. I was literally gonna throw this away. This sucker performs so beautiful, old school, original Cobra 29 LTD. Not the classics, none of that stuff. The real thing, 4-wire mic, Bill Good tuned, really awesome. Radio means a lot to me. You know, all of these radios have a background, or I have a backstory on them, or you know, I knew the person that owned it or whatever. Yeah, really cool stuff. All right, you guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow night. Oh, please leave a thumbs up if that's cool with you, and don't forget to subscribe. And yeah, thanks for letting me share this with you. This is like really nerdy. All right, guys, over and out.